Okay, so where we left off before lunch, we'll just quickly summarize, make sure we're all on the same page again. So we have our adventurers, Odysseus and his crew. They have went to the lair of this ugly, godforsaken Cyclops, and they went in and they saw his whole house full of cheeses, all his cavern full of cheeses, and all these wonderful things, all these goats, sheep, rams, all this livestock that, if, for instance, they just stole it, like his crew suggested up here in lines, 165 here, and they just look and they came pressing around him and said hey, we could steal all this stuff and leave, go back into the water, and we don't have to fight a Cyclops. We don't get trapped, and we don't die. Doesn't that sound so much better? It sounds so much more fun, to us at least, because now we get a bunch of food for the next, maybe year and a half. Who knows? This is a lot of extra food, because these are giant rams and giant sheep. We put these on the boat. We put those on the boat. Boom, perfect. You are set for a lifetime, basically. At least until y'all make it back to wherever you're trying to get to. And Odysseus, he's like, yeah, you guys got some good ideas there. How sound that was. But he refused. He said, nope, I love it. It sounds logical, makes a lot of sense. That's the best thing we could do. We're not going to do it. Instead, what I want to do, I want to go and see the one that lives in that cave and see if he may give us something better. You never know. We could steal all his stuff here that we can obviously see everything he owns, but I could ask him, hey, according to Greek culture, you have to give us stuff in honor of your guest because you never know if it's a god or goddess coming to your door. So, do you have anything better than all of your livestock that you want to give us? Which, honestly, it's not a bad idea. The Greek people, they honored guests that came through. They would give them gifts to help them out because, again, you never knew if it was a god or goddess because they had thousands of them and they didn't know who was what. So you never knew who was walking up to your door. So you wanted to treat them all good that came through. So just in case, you are going to provide some kind of help to your travelers that are coming to your door. But, like everybody else understood, it was not a good sight. It didn't work out well for Odysseus' friends. So in line 174, we picked back up. We lit a fire, sat there in silence, and ate some cheese that we stole from the Cyclops. And then we just sort of waited around. Then our Cyclops friend enters in. So right here, we're looking at lines 176. When he came, he had a load of dry boughs on his shoulder to stoke his fire at supper time. He dumped it with a great crash in that hollow cave. And we all scattered fast to the far wall. Then over the broad cavern floor, he ushered the ewes he meant to milk. So he brings in all of his livestock that he's going to milk, and he's going to make sure that they're good for the rest of the night. He left his rams and his he-goats out in the yard, outside, and then swung high overhead a slab of solid rock to close the cave. 24 four-wheeled wagons with heaving heavy animal teams could not have stirred that rock, the tonnage of that rock, from where he wedged it over the door sill. So even if they had, 48 or 24, or however many you needed, you could not move that rock at all. Whether you had everything possible, like the heaviest machinery of their time, to move it, wasn't going to happen. So essentially, you're stuck. And you're stuck in here with a giant Cyclops. And you broke into his house. I don't know how those 13 dudes are going to make it out, but we'll see. Let's see sort of what happens. So then we come down here, we're at line 190. So he basically starts milking all his animals, making sure he does all of his chores for the night. He eats for supper and all that, and then when all these chores were done, he poked at the fire. So he sort of got all of his wood and he put it in the big old fire, and he pokes at it to stir it up for his fire to pop up, heaping on brushwood, throwing stuff on there. In the glare, he saw us.
Strangers, he said, who are you and where from? What brings you here by seaways of fair traffic? Or are you wandering rogues who cast your lives like dice and ravage other folk by sea?
We felt a pressure on our hearts in dread of that deep rumble and that mighty man. But all the same, I spoke up in reply. We are from Troy, Achaeans, blown off course by shifting gales on the great South Sea. Homeward bound, but taking routes in ways uncommon. So the will of Zeus would have it. We served under Agamemnon, son of Atreus. The whole world knows what city he laid waste, what armies he destroyed. It was our luck to come here, and here we stand, beholden for your help. And any gifts you would give. As custom is to honor strangers in our Greek culture here, we would entreat you, great sir, have a care for the gods' courtesy. Because remember, Zeus will avenge the unoffending guests, like the ones that break into your house and think they're going to steal all of your stuff. We're not offending you yet. We didn't call you fat and ugly yet. So we're good, yeah. So give to us these things. So now we're rolling down to line 216. This is probably a pretty good imagining of the height difference. These are mighty warrior men, probably like 6'2", 6'3", and here is our Cyclops, towering over them like 3 to 4 times their size, massive, bringing in whole trees to stoke his fire. Now our Cyclops' his name is Polyphemus. We're going to learn this a lot later. I'll just let you know now while it's here on screen. Cyclops, his name's Polyphemus, and then our main character Odysseus and his men, now they're trapped in this cave with this Cyclops. And he sees them, he asks them what they're doing here in his own house, and Odysseus says, hey, we were lost, we were trying to, get home, and just, by the way, this is the way Zeus took us, so here we are. And let's see how he replies. He answered this from his brute chest, unmoved.
You are a ninny, or else you come from the other end of nowhere, telling me, mind the gods, we Cyclopses care not a whistle for your thundering Zeus, or all the gods in bliss. We have more force by far. I would not let you go for fear of Zeus, you or your friends, unless I had a whim to. Tell me, where was it now that you left your ship? Around the point or down the shore? I wonder. He thought he'd find out. He thought he'd find me out. But I saw through it. And I answered with a ready lie. My ship, Poseidon Lord, who sets the earth a tremble, broke it up on the rocks at your land's end. A wind from seaward served him, drove us there. We are survivors. These good men and I. Neither reply nor pity came from him. Well, it didn't work. Did it? But in one stride, he clutched at my companions and caught in his 2 hands like squirming puppies to beat their brain out, splattering the floor. Then he dismembered them, made his meal, gaping and crunching like a mountain lion. Everything innards, flesh and marrow bones. We cried aloud, lifting our hands to Zeus, powerless, looking on at this, appalled. But Cyclops went on filling up his belly with man flesh and great gulps of whey, then lay down like a mast among his sheep. My heart beat high now at the chance of action, and drawing the sharp sword from my hip, I went along his flank to stab him where the midriff holds the liver.
I had touched the spot when sudden fear stayed me. If I killed him, we perished there as well. For we could never move his ponderous doorway slab aside. So we were left to groan and wait for morning. Puts him in a tough spot, huh? Odysseus, he is so mad because this Cyclops grabs at two of his guys, beats their heads against the ground, eats them up, drinks them like juice boxes, throws them to the floor. Then he just sits back, and now they've sort of eaten and everything's good. Odysseus jumps up, and he is right here. He is right ready to rip him apart with his sword, just tear him open. But before he really gets in there, he's like right about to jut into that point. He's like, if I kill him, we're stuck in here. And like we talked about with Cyclops before, he probably hasn't showered forever at all. He smells like garbage, not just good garbage, like hot garbage, just sad, wet, hot garbage, just the worst. He doesn't have a bathroom either, so sort of stuck in there with that stuff. And you have all these animals that you're gonna have mounds of things in there that it's just gonna start to smell bad. You don't want to be there for the whole time, especially dying because you murdered your only way out and you killed the thing that could move the way for you to escape. Now you and your men, two of them have been eaten and ripped apart. Lucky for them, they don't have to die while smelling poo and dying from fumes. They get to survive and sort of go on without that, which is nice for them. So if he actually killed them, that was going to be the fate of them all. And he was still the fate for 11 men, himself included, which would not be good. So he had to stay his hand. He had to hold off. He was so ready. He was just about to rip into, and then he has to, gotta think logically. If I stab him now, like I want to rip him in half. I just want to tear out his eyes. I just want, like he's ready to kill hard. But he stops, which is odd for an epic hero because most of the time they don't stop and think logically. The one that we're reading about in our senior class, we're reading about Beowulf. And Beowulf never stops to think at all. He's mad about something, he goes to murder it. That's all it does. Like he has no thought process. Odysseus, he's at least a little bit more cunning. The Greeks valued a little bit more of the wit. They wanted their main characters to be a little bit smarter, to outsmart, to trick their opponents. So that's where we get Odysseus here. Now he's going to try and figure out a way that he can get his men free and be able to get out of this place. All right, so now we start at 251. When the young dawn with fingertips of rose lit up the world, Brandon started that. Cyclops built a fire, milked his handsome ewes all in due order, putting the sucklings to the mothers. Then all his chores being dispatched, he caught another brace of men to make his breakfast, and whisked away his great door slab to let his sheep go through. But he, behind, reset the stone, as one would cap a quiver. There was a din of whistling, as the Cyclops rounded his flock to higher ground. Then, stillness. And now I pondered how to hurt him worse. If but a thing had granted what I prayed for, here are the means I thought would serve my turn. A club or a staff lay there along the fold. An olive tree felled green and left to season for Cyclops' hand. And it was like a mast, a lugger of 20 oars, broad in the beam, a deep sea going craft might carry. Now, so long, so big, around it seems. Now, I chopped out a 6-foot section of this pole and set it down before my men, who scraped it. And when they had it smooth, I hewed it again to make a stake with pointed end. I held this in the fire's heart and turned it, toughening it. Then hid it well back in the cavern under one of the dung piles in profusion there. Now came the time to toss for it. So here, this is when they're going to figure out who's going to venture alongside Odysseus to actually brand this thing in the Cyclops' eye. Who's going to actually kill the Cyclops here and take this on. So what they did is they basically took dice, and it was called casting lots. So if the lots fell on you, like they threw the dice, okay, it looks like JJ and Landon, you guys, lots fell on you, so you guys are gonna have to go and take out the trash or do the chores or whatever. Like, that's how it goes. It's like, that's how they pick things back in the time. Like when you see, like in the Old Testament, Jonah, when he's on a ship, they cast lots to see who's the cause of all this craziness, where the ship's getting tossed in the storm, and then it falls to Jonah. It's the same kind of deal, okay? It's the same deal, so they're sort of deciding based on chance. So now came the time to toss for it. Who ventured along with me? Whose hand could bear to thrust and grind that spike in Cyclops' eye when mild sleep had mastered him? As luck would have it, the men I would have chosen for the task, 4 strong men, and I made 5 as captain. So the ones he wanted to actually do the task with him, they were the ones that won. So thank goodness he didn't have to deal with Jerry, because Jerry's a weakling. I don't know why he brought him along, but he's one of the 12 best men. That Cyclops should have ate Jerry first. Jerry sucks. He's just the worst, right? But the 4 good ones, they're the ones that are going to help him actually do this. They can actually complete this job. So at evening came the shepherd with his flock, his woolly flock, the rams as well this time, entered by the cave. By some shepherding whim or by God's bidding, none were left outside. Everything is here in the building. He hefted his great boulder into place and sat him down to milk the bleeding ewes in proper order. And completing all of his evening chores, he swiftly caught 2 more men and feasted on them. My moment was at hand, and I went forward, holding an ivy bowl of my dark drink, looking up, saying, "Cyclops, try some wine. Here's liquor to wash down your scraps of men. Taste it. See the kind of drink we carried under our planks. I meant it for an offering if you would help us home, but you are mad, unbearable, and a bloody monster. After this, will any other traveler want to come see you?" He seized and drained the bowl, and it went down so fiery and smooth he called for more. "Give me another. Thank you kindly. Tell me, how are you called? I'll make a gift will please you. Even Cyclopses know how the wine grapes grow out of the grassland and loam in heaven's rain. But here's a bit of nectar and ambrosia." 3 bowls I brought him, 3, and he poured them down. I saw the fuddle and flush come over him. Then I sang out in cordial tones, "Cyclops, you asked my honorable name. Remember the gift you promised me. Remember, and I'll tell you, my name is nobody. Mother, father, friends, everybody calls me nobody." And he said, "Nobody's my meat. Then, after I eat his friends, others come first. There's a noble gift now." Even as he spoke, he reeled and tumbled backward, his great head lolling to one side, and sleep took him like any creature. Drunk, hiccuping, he dribbled streams of liquor and bits of men. So, right here, Odysseus, why doesn't he tell him his real name? Why do you think he chooses to give him another fake name like nobody?
Maybe he's known by a lot of people.
Okay, well, we know his name. Well, as audience members, we know his name is Odysseus. But he told the giant Cyclops a lie, and he told him, "Yeah, my name's nobody. That's my name. It's nobody." Why would he tell him that? Why would he tell him that instead, Yaron? Why do you think? Why do you think he's giving him a fake name? What happens if they escape? And he has his actual name.
He's gonna try to find him.
Oh yeah, he gonna catch him, right? If he knows Odysseus' real name, hey, I'm looking for Odysseus. Any of the gods or goddesses that are willing to go kill him, I'll pay you whatever you want. I don't care. I want him dead. Tell me where he's at. I'll murder him myself. And that's exactly why you don't want to tell him his name. So he comes up with hey, that's a pretty genius name. Nobody. Because it sounds like what? Nobody, right? Like it sounds like nobody. It's just spelled a little different. So instead of it being spelled the right way, it's nobody. So nobody's the wiser. So now we come down here. We have the Cyclops asleep. Finally down, asleep. Now, by the gods, I drove my big hand spiking the embers, charring it again, and cheered my men along with battle talk to keep their courage up. No quitting now. The pike of olive green, though it had been reddened and glowed as if about to catch fire, I drew it from the coals, and my four fellows gave me a hand, lugging it near the Cyclops, as more than natural force nerved them. Straight forward they sprinted, lifted it, rammed it deep in his crater eye, and leaned on it, turning it as a shipwright turns a drill in planking, having men below to swing the two-handled strap that spins it in the groove. So with our brand, we bored that great eye socket, while blood ran out around the red-hot bar. Eyelid and lash were seared, the pierced ball broiling. The roots popped. In a smithy one sees a white-hot axe head where an adze plunged and wrung in a cold tub, screeching steam, the way they make soft iron hail and hard. Just so that eyeball hissed around the spot. The Cyclops bellowed and the rock roared round him, and we fell back in fear. Clawing his face, he dug the bloody spike out of his eye, threw it away, and his wild hands went groping. Then he set up a howl for Cyclopses who lived in caves on windy peaks nearby. Some heard him, and they came by diverse ways to clump around outside and call, "What ails you, Polyphemus? Why do you cry so sore in the starry night? Will you not let us sleep? Sure no man's driving off your flock. No man has tricked you, ruined you." Out of the cave, the mammoth Polyphemus roared his answer, "Nobody! Nobody's tricked me! Nobody's ruined me!" To this rough shout, they made a sage reply. "Oh, well, if nobody's played you foul there in your lonely bed, we're in no use in pain given by great Zeus. Let it be your father Poseidon, to whom you pray." Hey, sorry, dude. If nobody's really attacking you right now, then we can't really do anything for your stomach pains. Sorry, it's just how it is. So, giving him this name, Nobody, what did that do? What did that help Odysseus accomplish?
Make them confused.
How did it make him confused?
Because they didn't know who nobody was, and they thought nobody was an actual word.
Yeah. So Nobody was the name that the Cyclops associated with Odysseus, right? That was the name he was told. But when he screams out, "Nobody's hurting me, nobody's hitting me," that's essentially like thinking your brother or sister was like, "Stop hitting yourself, stop hitting yourself." It's the same kind of deal. It's like, well, nobody's bothering you, I'm not touching you. It's the same deal. And they're like, "Oh, okay, well, whatever. I guess if nobody's hurting you, we'll just leave. We'll just go home." So, saying, they trailed away, and I was filled with laughter looking at line 365 here, about halfway down. I was filled with laughter to see how like a charm the name deceived them. Now Cyclops, wheezy. What time is it?
12:34.
Alright. Here's what I need you to do. For this week, y'all will go through. Now we'll pick up where we left off here with the Cyclops. So next week we'll talk about what happens following this trickery. I want you to go to the Cyclops reading notes, the guided reading notes underneath. I want you to answer questions 1
Shaylin
through
Silver, come to the attendant's office. Shaylin Silver.
1 through 4. Questions 1 through 4, and you're good to go. All right, we'll see you later, guys. Have a good rest of the day.